Edition number 88 of the Amazing Spider-Man is here. Um, it's different. It's last edition was really Peter focused, Peter getting back up on his feet as we're preparing to ramp up the end of this. There's about a month left of this, all of February and I think end of March. Edition 88 starts with Maxine, the head of Beyond, saying we didn't want to tell you while you were recovering. Janine left to obviously Ben, and Ben has no idea why she left, or we think. Then Janine is interrogating the I forgot his name, the guy, essentially the one that's in Ben's ear, how he let Janine go and she had a knife to his throat and they need to go find her. Janine goes and talks to the board. The board's not happy. She gets to start the Halifax protocol, which essentially is not hers, but she said trial and error. If I fail, I take full responsibility. She goes on and touches a wall, a glass wall, and apparently we are beginning to find what Beyond truly is, which we kind of all knew what they were once this whole drive situation got loose. And in comes the Queen Goblin. The Queen Goblin is shown, and from there, the nightmare of an edition begins. The interrogation goes on with Maxine and the guy that let Janine go. She kind of tells him, hey, Beyond isn't really just a superhero program. It's a villain program as well. They control the narrative of what goes on. And the important part for them to continue doing this is that the information on this drive is not let into the public. So Janine, MJ meet at the Daily Bugle. They meet somebody by the name of Gloria Grant, who works at the Bugle. From there, it transitions to Ben. Ben is getting ready to go find Janine. His mission is to find Janine, because if they find Janine, they find the drive. But Beyond thinks, since they wiped some of Ben's memory, he doesn't know that. So they go from there, and Ben is just ready to go find Janine. The interrogation continues after Ben sets out. And it's Maxine telling Ben's guide that we know where Janine is. She's at the Daily Bugle. And he questions Maxine and says, have we been doing something unethical here? I'm asking you a question. And she goes into the description of Jason Halifax, who was an owner. He was CEO of a big oil company at a super mansion with a sentry threw a tank at Thor, blah, blah, lightning the void, and the Halifax house was wiped off the earth. And Maxine says, what happened with the bodies? How did they get there? Who cared? Nobody, because of the sentry and Thor. And Maxine says, the superhero thing is fun. We get to give back to the community. Corporate charity magazine covers pats on the back. But we are Beyond. We sell products. And he questions, the superhero division is smoke. And Maxine says, a Beyond branded meta product that controls the news cycles and can make people, buildings, hopefully continents, eventually disappear. No question asked. For anyone who needs it and can pay off, of course. Having it lay around for situations like this doesn't hurt either. But to do what you're talking about superheroes wouldn't be enough. You'd need villains too. And Maxine kind of gives a face that we are both. We control the narrative, essentially. So Beyond has essentially, the information in those drives shows that what Beyond is doing is not only superheroes, but they have massive villains that they can unleash. And so the Queen Goblin is unleashed, and her one mission is to kill Janine, get the drive. So while MJ and Janine are at the Bugle, Janine gives her statements, and MJ lets Janine know that, hey, they have to run this by their bosses. This is very important. They're going to take the drives. And as they're having that conversation, the Queen Goblin shows up, essentially trying to kill them. And while that fight is happening, in like any other movie, you see a drive flipping and flopping, floating around everywhere. And during this fight, more of running of Mary Jane and Janine, Ben Reilly shows up. Ben Reilly, Mr. Spider-Man, shows up, and Spider-Man was told to leave as the Queen Goblin was, deployed. He doesn't know that. He knows nothing about the Queen Goblin. He knows nothing about the Queen Goblin, or so we think. Spider-Man shows up. He's fighting for Janine, essentially, beating up Queen Goblin. They go back and forth. Maxine and her scientists are watching the entire fight. Well, as the fight goes on, Janine gets grabbed by Queen Goblin. The drive flies in the air because Ben Reilly uses a thwip, a spider web to pull her in. So when that happens, the drive is on the floor. Queen Goblin steps on it. As she steps on it, Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, throws a desk at her, and he grabs Janine and says, "Let's go. You're safe now, Janine. I'm getting you out of here." And MJ's like, "Guys, she's getting up." And Ben Reilly says, or no, Janine asks, "Are you going to do something?" And Ben says, "The way I see it, that's not our problem." And they pan on Maxine and say, "What did he say?" And Janine goes, "Ben, what do you mean? She's dangerous." And Ben goes, "You're right." He says, "We better get out of here." And he flies off with Janine. And MJ is left to fight Queen Goblin. And Queen Goblin's last words are, "I'm still here." So the drive is destroyed. Half the mission is done. Queen Goblin is still in need of killing Janine. This was a good issue. Because you now see where this is going. You see that Ben essentially is not being controlled by Beyond. Ben wants out of this. But something is going to happen either to Mary Jane, and Peter's going to find out. Maybe Mary Jane dies. I don't know. But at the same time, I'm curious to see how this turns into Peter and Ben fighting in the final edition, because I know that's coming. If you've seen the variant art for the final chapter, I think it's going to be 93 or something. They're fighting. So what leads to that, I'm not sure. My thought is that MJ might be dead. I don't know. I'm hoping Peter swoops in out of nowhere, but there is a MJ and Black Cat edition, and that edition shows Black Cat fighting Queen Goblin. So maybe Queen Goblin gets taken down by Black Cat. Maybe Spider-Man helps out, or maybe she doesn't get taken out. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with Queen Goblin. Cool little touch. Cool different enemy. Essentially, that's going to be Ben's enemy, not Peter's. But I enjoyed this. You really understand now what Beyond is. You get the full gist of it and who they are, what they've done, and that they're not really looking out for the interest of the good of the human people. They're in it for themselves. They're in it to make money. And not only do they have their superhero program, they have their villain program, and they have unleashed it. And we will see what happens from here. If you guys enjoyed edition 88 of The Amazing Spider-Man, let me know. Leave a comment, anything. I think the next edition is not for 2 weeks, because I think next week is Black Cat, Mary Jane tie-in, and a Beyond tie-in to this. So it's coming to an end, though. It is definitely coming to an end. I think this ending is going to be one of the best Spider-Man endings, is what they're claiming, and I can see it. I'm curious to see what Peter does now with Ben leaving, essentially his Mary Jane, and Peter finding out, and there's a whole thing there. So if you guys enjoyed it, like it, sub to the channel, leave a comment, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.